everyone. I want to show you how to set the round pieced blocks into the corners. Now, I have already sewn together 3 red corners and 1 orange because that's what goes around block number 1. I've already sewn them together, and actually they would be oriented with the orange up there, but guess what? It doesn't matter because this is a round block, and no matter which way you turn it, it's going to fit. Now that said, you want to be sure before you start pinning things together that you've got the correct points pointing to north, south, east, and west. And I believe it's the green ones that point in that direction, but I'm going to double check that before I pin it. But to prepare to pin, the first thing you're going to do is pick up each corner piece and match the seam there and bring it over and finger press the diagonal center of this curve. Once you finger press it, you'll open it up and put a pin there so you can find that point again. And I'm going to do the other 3 diagonal centers off camera, and I will join you again in just a little bit. So I have folded each one of the diagonal centers. I found each one of the diagonal centers and I've marked them with a pin. And I did decide that, yes, it's the green points that are at north, south, east, and west. The next thing I want to do is lay the block flat on my table with the corners on top of it. And then I'm going to fold the corner fabric in at the diagonal centers and at the north, south, east, and west points. Let me reach under here and do that. All right, now this is, I'm assuming, this is a teachable moment. When you look at my block, and let me zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice that I've got some extra seams in my red corner fabric, like right there. What happened is I miscut my corner squares. They were short, and I had to add more fabric to that those rectangles that I cut short because there wasn't any more fabric for me to get to be able to not do that. So here's the thing, if you do that yourself, if you make mistakes in your cutting, find a way to fix it. Having the extra seams is not a big deal. The only thing I do have to do is make sure that I remember of these 2 seams, which one is the one that matches up with the center, and it's where the red and orange meet. So what I'll be doing, let me pull this in even a little more. What I want to do now is use positioning pins. I'm going to turn this just a little bit so it's easier for me to pin. I want to put a positioning pin in 1/4 inch down there, and I'm going to match it up with that point. I'm going to ooch that out, and then I'm going to pin that in position. And I will rotate this and move to the next pin, and honestly I can take out that positioning pin and put it back in at about 1/4 inch down. Now that's a little bigger than 1/4 inch. I'm going to put my pin in just a little bit to the outside there. It's going to line up, it's going to all come out in the wash right there, and I'm going to pin like that. And in this case I'm going to put a pin on both sides of that positioning pin, and this is a positioning pin that I can take out. So I'm going to rotate and do the next one, and so on. Now I'm going to work my way all the way around here, marking those north, south, east, and west, and the diagonal centers. And then I will go back and add more pins between the pins. So to do that, lay your block flat with the round block against the mat and gently ooch that inner curve out to match the raw edge of the round block, and pin as often as you want to pin. Just like that. Don't overdo it. Think calm thoughts. Now, when you get to a place where there's seams, like this is another point, I'm going to pin that kind of through the thickest part of the fabric, just so that when I'm sewing it in the sewing machine, it feeds through easier and doesn't turn those seam allowances the way they don't want to be. Oh, look, I had a cat hair there. Okay, here we go. Let me do this, and I would pin, and I would do this all the way around in each of the 4 quadrants. So I would move to this side of the positioning pin and do the same thing. When you sew these kind of curves, you always sew with the concave curve up. So the convex, the outer curve, that's the block. The concave curve, think caves go in, that's going to be the curve that goes with the corner squares. You always want to sew with that on top. And when you put this in the machine, and I'll take a video of this, but when you put it in the machine, your presser foot and your 1/4 inch mark will line up here, but you never, never, never want to try to pull this straight in front of it. The sewing motion is always one where you feed that curve under the space to meet your 1/4 inch line. You sort of rotate it in and reposition your hand and rotate it in. This is really easy sewing. So that's how you pin and prepare the corners to sew to the round blocks. I hope you enjoy this. If you've not done curved piecing before, this will be a revelation. So enjoy your sewing. Thanks for watching.